Well, good evening, Rooted Group, and I apologize that I was not able to be there with you in person this evening, but Clayton and I are at a conference tonight up in Bourbonnais, and so it just wasn't going to work out for me to be able to come. But I'm here via the power of technology and the internet, and um, if you want to follow along, although I won't be referring to the passage in your books, but the this bit of the first Rooted evening is kind of based on page 10 of your Rooted notebook. So that's within kind of the first week. And really, what this first night is about is really just kind of an orientation. You get your books for the first time, and what I'd really like to do is um, just give you just some thoughts about what your Rooted experience really, well, not should be like, but what it's going to be like, and some of the things that you're going to have the opportunity to do, and just really some advice, some of the things that we learned. And John, I know you did some of the training over the summer. There is some other stuff in this first week that y'all can kind of read through together on your own. So specifically, there's an introduction there on page 7. There's a story of Rooted on pages 8 and 9. There's the Rooted Covenant, which we don't insist that anybody signs because that just kind of seems like a bit much. And then there's a story, kind of a testimony starting on page 12. And so y'all can look at that after this, once I'm done, and I don't intend to take too long, but I do want to just touch on a few things. And first, I just want to communicate my excitement and encouragement that all of you have decided to be part of a Rooted group. I think that, yeah, we were just very thankful and very heartened by the number of folks, number of Calvary folks who have decided to join, and I think it's going to be well worth your time. Today is kind of like syllabus day in a college class where you kind of see all the stuff that's going to be part of the next 10 weeks. You're like, oh wow, this really feels like a lot, but and in some senses it is. Like, I think there's some things that some of you may have never done before that you're going to be asked to do, and so those are going to be thresholds that you're going to have to cross. But I think, for the most part, the way that they space things out and everything else, I think it is a manageable thing. But I do think it may feel like a lot, just in terms of, that we're talking about it all at once right now. But I just want to encourage you that it really isn't. So I think that there's 3 main ingredients to a successful, I don't know if that's exactly the right word, but a good Rooted experience. And obviously, this isn't a magic trick. We don't know what the Lord is going to do. We're hoping, right? We're gathered together in these small groups, hoping that He's going to move, and we can't force Him to do that. Like this, So I don't know. You may go through these 10 weeks and go, well, that was pretty good, but like it wasn't exactly the spiritual trip to Disney World that Pastor Ben promised us, and I hope it is. Like, I hope that this is a very meaningful experience for all of you. But there's just there's no way for us to really control that. And I think that however, all that being said, I think that there really are 3 key components without which I think that you're not really laying the groundwork for the Spirit to work through your Rooted experience. And so I think the first one of those key ingredients is commitment. And we've talked a little bit about this, and if you were around when we had the Rooted panel in August, we talked about this too. But one of the key aspects of Rooted is that it is a high commitment thing. And so not to really beat around the bush, but we're asking you to intend to come to every single one of these meetings for the next 10 weeks. Move other appointments, don't intend to travel, and that may be like, well, but that's the request, that you just right now intend in your heart to come to every single one of these meetings. And obviously health intervenes, nobody can control that, and that's obviously fine. Sometimes work things happen and you can't come. And I think what we're really trying to ask is for you to take the I just don't feel like it option off the table for these 10 weeks. And just, it doesn't matter if you don't feel like it, that you come anyway and that you commit to being there. And I think that that's important for a couple of reasons. I think it's important for just you personally to make that the discipline and the practice of coming every week. I think it's important for your other group members that they can count on and trust on you being there, and I think that'll be important as you move ahead in the experience, and there's opportunities to kind of share some things with one another. And I think that the commitment piece for your group, I think it really does help build the trust and the comfortability with one another. So commitment's the first key ingredient. The second one is confidentiality, and I think that's fairly straightforward. The first rule of Rooted is you don't talk about Rooted, and so I would just strongly encourage you to just don't talk about, I mean, obviously you can talk about the things that you're talking about, the topics and things that somebody asked, or how's it going? Oh, it's going great. But really when it comes down to specific things that specific people said, even if it's like a good thought that you really appreciated, really just to try and keep all of that pretty much tightened down and just so that everybody knows that the things that they're saying, the questions that they ask, things like that are not leaving the circle of the group. And the third key ingredient, I think, to a successful Rooted experience is that you really buckle down with the disciplines, with the practices that are there for you. And I think that the main one, besides just coming every week, which I think is a spiritual practice all on its own, but the other one is the homeworks, right? And so there are 5 readings for each week that you will be expected to do. And the readings aren't terribly long. I think they will feel long if you are trying to do all of them at 5 p.m. on a Thursday evening. So I'd really encourage you, whether you do one a day, I don't care about that, but I would encourage you to try and spread those out over the week, right? So that you're able to do them and give them enough time that you're able to read it, absorb what it's saying, and then there are questions provided for you at the end of each of those readings, and then space to journal. I would say if you really connect with journaling and writing down your thoughts, then go crazy, fill the pages, that's awesome. If you don't, I would still encourage you to at least try and just jot down a few thoughts in answer to the questions. If for no other reason, then I think it will help you process it a bit more. And when it comes time to have the discussion on Thursday night, you can go back, look through your thoughts, and kind of freshen up on the things that you were thinking about, so that you're able to contribute to the discussion. And I think the other main spiritual practice that you'll encounter is you'll have different opportunities to pray for one another and to share different things about your life. And I would just really encourage you to lean in and trust and share as you're led when those opportunities come. And there'll also be opportunity for each of you to share the story of how you came to faith. And I know that for some of you that may be just very dread-inducing thought to have to do that, and I understand that. I think that it feels like it's going to kill you, but it really isn't. And frankly, I would just encourage you to buckle up and do it anyway. This is a real adult group, right? And so we believe in you, and we think you can do that. And it's not about who has the coolest story or anything like that, but really the practice of both for yourself, learning how to communicate the story of how you came to faith in Jesus, and then also for the building up of others. I imagine there are going to be people in your Rooted group who don't know the story of how you came to faith in the Lord, and so they're going to be edified and encouraged by the practice of that. So just to sum up, the 3 key ingredients, I think, to a good Rooted experience are commitment, that you come every week, that you're really able to. Secondly, the confidentiality piece, that you don't talk about the things that happen at Rooted, the specific things that happen at Rooted. And 3, just the commitment to the practices, the disciplines. So there's going to be a second part to this. I wanted to kind of break it down into 2 parts, and so go ahead, and this part 2 video should be right there by the other one. So I'll see you in a minute.